What's up guys, Azura here. Today we're gonna be talking about shields. Lately, even playing casually if you take a look in the Protector's Enclave, people are asking for you to bring your Paladin heals, your Scourge Warlock heals with the shield. Probably because of the latest content to be fair. Master Demon Weapons has a pretty huge. The two of the bosses have two big tank busters. We do have the new trial as well that has a really big tank buster in the final boss. So yeah, that's why people are getting asking for those shields. But who does it better, man? Is it the Paladin or is it the Warlock? So that's today's topic. I'm not gonna lie to anyone here. We probably know the answer number wise, but how much of a difference it is? How stronger the Paladin shield is compared to the Warlocks? And does bring it a Warlock add something to the table? Do we have situations where a Warlock is better than the Paladin heal? So we're gonna do some number crunching here today and find out we're gonna do it. So I'm gonna be considering here. I'm not just gonna do the number cruncher because ain't no way I'm gonna have the same build for both of the classes. So we can see clearly the difference between the numbers. So we're gonna have to do the number crunching. And I've told you in the open ring video that we do the healing math based on damage multiplied by magnitude divided by 100, and we multiply that by all the stats multiplier, which is power, critical severity, outgoing healing, and incoming healing of the target. So if we are comparing both classes, we're going to be considering that all have the all caps, and we're going to be dividing one by another. We're going to be dividing Paladin by the Warlocks, and everything is going to cancel out. Everything that's the same is going to cancel out. And we're going to consider the same build, but we're going to be taking a look at the things that the classes have that give them inherited advantages. For instance, I think the Warlock doesn't have any, but if you take a look at the powers here of the Paladin, we do have some stuff that give him some advantage over the Warlock when it comes to increasing its healings. You can say Circle Divinity increases the stats, but we are considering that we are at the cap, and this does not go over the cap. The Warlock has two powers that increase outgoing healing as well, but they both don't go over the cap as well. But the Paladin has some stuff going on for him as well. So if you take a look at the Shield of Faith, it increases the incoming healing of the target. So that increases its healing. If we look at the Aura Restoration, that increases its healing. So that's an advantage over what the Warlock can offer. And we do have the last feat here, Emissary of Warding, that increases the effectiveness of the shield by 25%. That's on its own multiplier. It multiplies the healing that you do if you do a critical hit. The healing that you do multiplies by 25% and raises that in shield. So yeah, that's the difference between the Warlock with the a full build and the Paladin with the full build. The Paladin has some really good stuff here that they give some extra healing. And yeah, incoming healing, guys, it's another multiplier that you should take advantage of course. People usually have around 30% incoming healing, and that's what we will be considering for the math. And yeah, we're going to be using our restoration. I'm not going to be taking into account Shield of Faith because that's not up all the time, but our restoration certainly is, and it's accessible for everyone. And it's a 10% incoming healing for all the group members. And the tank, if you put the mark on it, which is probably the case, is going to get 15%. So we're going to be taking that into consideration when we do the math. So we're going to be starting with the easy one first, the big shield. And as you can see, there's no comparison, guys. The magnitude of the Hand of Divinity, which is the big shield of the Paladin, is 1500 because of the crit. Well, because of the Emissary of Warning, that's the last feat, which normally the Paladin run with.
The Infernal Sanctuary is 1000 when you put the feet of the shield for the Warlocks. The multipliers, the only different multipliers we have is the incoming healing because of the aura restoration. The Paladin is probably going to be using the mark on the tank, so the tank is going to have 15% more incoming healing, and then math goes like that, guys. Magnitude times the multiplier, one divided by another, and you get to the Paladin being 67.3% stronger than the Warlock when it comes to the big shield. And man, even if the Paladin gear is lower item level, even if you play like me, like for example with the Vistani, which is really low item level set, if you put the debuffs on, even if you play like that, the Warlock cannot, fully replace you. Even if it goes for a full healer Warlock build with the highest item level stuff, the difference is still gonna be like 40 to 45% stronger still for the Paladin. So yeah, there's not much comparison when it comes to the big shield. If you need maximum protection for the tank, for whatever reason, the tank is learning the game, it's learning the mechanics, it doesn't have enough, he's not strong enough, for whatever reason, maximum protection, the Paladin is the guy. There's no discussion about that. So a second comparison here is the Divine Shelter versus the Vampiric Embrace. And yeah, first things first, Divine Shelter magnitude, it's not as it says in the description there. I think it's 365 in the description, but it seems to be around 325. That's why we have that. Again, we're looking at the crit, and we get a 20%, 25% increase whenever we crit. So that's why the value is different there. And versus the Vampiric Embrace, for the Warlock, is 65% of the Warlock heal. So the Vampiric Embrace heals for 600, 65% of that is 390. The multipliers are the same again. We use our restoration on the Paladin. We're not going to take into account the mark this time, so it's only a 10% difference. And that equals to the Paladin being 12% stronger with the small shields as well. So why do I make this video, man? Just to humiliate the Warlock? What does he have that can compare to the Paladin? What does he bring to the table, man? Why would I use the Warlock? So this time around, the difference is not that big. 12% stronger. Depending on the build, the Warlock can make up for it. But other than that, maybe you want to take a hit on the shields and bring something extra to the game for the party. What does the Warlock has to offer? So we're going to take a look at that now. And the difference, guys, the difference is in the healing. If you look at the magnitude of the heals of Divine Shelter, we got 325 versus 600 of Vampiric Embrace. And we don't get the bonus of the 25% for the Paladin this time around because it only applies to the shields. We still have the bonus of the Hour Restoration, but this is not make this time around. It doesn't make the heals of the Paladins stronger than the Warlocks. The Paladin is almost 60% weaker when it comes to healing. So if you know you're gonna be taking a lot of damage, maybe it's better to bring a Warlock instead of the Paladin. And a good example of that, a prime example of that, is a Master Demon Web bits. If you have a good tank, you don't need as much shielding. Okay, you don't need the tank doesn't need that much of a protection. Maybe you want to protect more the DPS, but you still they still get a lot of damage there. Still have the damage over time and the last phase, in the healing check in the last boss. We do have a bunch of ads on the second boss as well. So more healing could be more useful in that scenario. Yeah, and even the defensive Mundas. If you have a really good tank, maybe you want to have more heals to help out. Yeah, it's just that's an option as well. The healing difference between the two is pretty significant. Yeah, there's more. One more thing that I want to show you guys. And that is, what if I chose to use my at will to raise a shield? So we're going to be comparing here Divine Shelter versus Infernal Barrier. And yeah, the Paladin is going to lose again. If you choose to go that route, you're probably going to be using a lot of Soulweave to cast the big shield on every single DPS and every single people in the group. You're not going to be doing that on trial, of course. That's only talking about dungeons here. That's inconceivable in trials. You're not going to be able to do that. Even in dungeons, you might run out of Soulweave depending on how much damage the DPS take. And yeah, but if you choose to go that route, the Warlock's going to be stronger and better. You're going to have access to the good heals. And this time around, if you notice, I went with 800 magnitude Infernal Barrier because I do believe that if you want to go that route, you should take advantage of the heal over times of the Warlock. If you're going to use the 800 shield, is enough to protect the DPS, enough to protect the tank. If it's a good tank and it has knowledge of the mechanics of the dungeon, it has good gear, the tank's going to be fine. 800 magnitude shield on the DPS is fine as well, as long as they don't get crazy and stay on every single red AoE possible. You're going to be fine, man. Yeah, that's a viable strategy. So you should take advantage of the heal over time this time around, and the Warlock is stronger.
Guys, the Paladin, usually it's vast in numbers, but the Warlock's useful in some situations as well, man. That's a discussion more towards the dungeon side of things, because in trials you gotta consider as well that the Aura of Restoration, sorry, this one here, works for the other healers as well, so it increases the heals on everybody. So the Paladin is very good. I normally say the Paladin is always the best duo because he's the best at shielding when it comes to number wise. He's going to give the highest amount of shields anyway. So you're going to have two healers in a trial. You might as well have the best at shielding, and depending on the amount of healing that you need for the group, you go with the other ones. If you need healing, you're probably going to go with a cleric or with a warlock. But if you don't need that much healing, you go with the bard for the buffs. Yeah. Don't forget the bard has the buff of healing as well. So depending how much the paladin healing is already doing, and the bard has good enough heals. So with the buff itself plus the shields, that's usually what the endgame players do go for. So the paladin and the bard, because they complement each other very well. It gives 50% damage for the DPS and 50% damaging and mitigation for the tanks. So that's the combination that it goes. Dungeon wise, you can use the knowledge that we just learned here and choose whichever healer you think it's easier for you to complete the stuff. I mean, I still think that Warlock is in a pretty good shape. He has a very how do I say, very flexible. So yeah, he can do the heal over time. He can do shields. So Warlock is a pretty good spot. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching and see you guys around. See you guys on next module.